Today, we're learning and we study on encouragement of David. We know that David dealt with discouragement, when we look at that 1 Samuel. So that's what we're going to study today. If you want to open your Bibles to the 1 Samuel, and let's study over there. This is the map of Israel and Judah during this is an ancient map of Israel. So let's look at the next map. This is where this map where David flees away from Saul. So we see Ziklag. Ziklag is right here, and we see the Amalekites and so forth. So this is a visual illustration, a visual of the map, kind of give you an idea of where Ziklag was located and who were Amalekites. Amalekites were descendants of Esau. Esau was the son of Isaac. So what's it called? Esau was the brother of Jacob, as well the son of Isaac. So Amalekites is the descendants of Esau. So as we look in the story, we see that Ziklag is right here, next to the border of the Philistines. So this is an ancient map during the time of David. During David's time. So anyway, let's open the Bible and let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 30, and let's go with the story. So let's follow the story. Now it happened when David and his men came to Ziklag on the third day that the Amalekites had invaded the south of Ziklag. That had invaded the south of Ziklag, attacked Ziklag and burned it with fire. So we know Amalekites in Hebrew means nomadic tribe, descendant of Esau. So that's what it means. They're descendants of Esau. Verse 2, and had taken captive the women and those who were there. From small to great, they did not kill anyone, but carried them away and went their way. So David and his men came to the city, and there was burned with fire, and their wives, their sons, and their daughters had been taken captive. So imagine, David's going away in a field. All of a sudden, David and his men going away from his town of Ziklag, and then Amalekites, the tribe of Amalekites, taking over the town and taking their sons, their kids, their women, destroying the whole town, the whole city of Ziklag, destroying it. So when David and his men come back, they see the city destroyed, and they see their wives and their kids gone. So how about that? Wouldn't you get discouraged? Probably. I would have. So let's go to verse 4. Then David and the people who were with him lift up their voices and wept until they had no more power to weep. So they're very discouraged, So, and David's two wives, Ahinoam and the Jezreelites, Ahinoam the Jezreelites, Tess and Abigail, the widow of Nabal, the Carmelite, have been taken captive. So we see in this verse 5 that David had two wives, Ahinoam the Jezreelites and Abigail, the widow of Nabal, the Carmelite. Both of them had been taken captive. Verse 5. Now David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and his daughters. But David strengthened himself in the Lord. So we see how, we see that he strengthened himself in the Lord. Verse 6. David strengthened himself in the Lord. Even though all the people around him, they try to kill him, stone him. He's his own man. They try to come against him. But he strengthened him. He found strength within him in the Lord. I don't know what I would do then. Probably I would just I'll surrender, or I don't know. Probably I'll run away. I don't know. So he found strength to strengthen himself in God. In verse 6, and we see that. 1 Samuel chapter 30, verse 6. Somehow he strengthened himself in God, So we see that David strengthened himself in the Lord. So what strengthen means? Hazat. In Hebrew, strengthen means hazak. Encourage, continue to be strong himself in the Lord. So that's what we see in Hebrew. So strengthen means hazak, which means encourage, continue to be strong, strong in the Lord. Then David, verse 7, then David said to Abiathar the priest, Abimelech's son, well, we know Abimelech, if we go to, was it chapter 21, 1 Samuel chapter 21, Abimelech, he's the one that gave 5 pieces of bread to David and his men. Remember in the book of Matthew when Jesus was challenged by the Pharisees, how can you pick the grains? It's a Sabbath, and he gave the story. Don't you remember that David and his men went to the priest and gave him 5 loaves? Well, that priest that Jesus gave the story of to the Pharisees was Abimelech. Abimelech, the priest, gave the bread to David, and that's in 1 Samuel 21. But when we look over here, Abiathar, the priest, is the son of Abimelech. So we can see the lineage, was given the priesthood, to the son and so forth. So Abiathar was the son of Abimelech. Abimelech gave the bread to David and his men in chapter 21, 1 Samuel. So let's go to verse 7. Then David said to Abiathar the priest, Abimelech's son, please bring ephod here to me. And Abiathar brought the ephod to David. And what's ephod? Let's find out. Ephod, it is a linen garment, apron-like garment worn over the priest's robe under his breastplate. We know that breastplate was consists of 12 stones. 12 stones of each tribe of Israel. And 2 stones over here, which represent, which represents the Israel, and so forth. So all them on each stones are engraved each tribe of Israel. And at the top it had the hat, the priest's hat at the top had holiness to the Lord. It was golden, was a golden stripe, was a golden plate on the priest's hat. It says holiness to the Lord. But all that was in Hebrew, of course. It wasn't written in English. So it says holiness to the Lord was a plate on the hat of the priest. And of course the priest had a breastplate, he had a robe, and so forth. Under the breastplate had an ephod, which was an apron-like garment. So that's what ephod means. Was a linen garment that was under the breastplate of the priest. So now you guys know what ephod means. So anyway, so let's continue. Please, so when it says verse 7, then David said to Abiathar the priest, Abimelech's son, please bring me the ephod here to me. And Abiathar brought the ephod to David. So David inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I pursue this troop? Shall I overtake him? And he answered him, pursue, for you shall surely overtake them, and without fail recover all. Verse 9, so David went, he and the 600 men who were with him, and came to brook Besor, where those stayed who were left behind. So David, inquired of God, said, hey, should I pursue these people or not? And you can see the communication. That's pretty cool. The communication between God and David. So yeah, go ahead and pursue. Go ahead and pursue after these people. Verse 10. But David pursued he and the 400 men, for 200 stayed behind. So David pursued he and the 400 men, for the 200 stayed behind, who were worried that they could not cross the brook Besor. I guess this river, this brook, this river was pretty big river. So I guess there's 600 men total. So 200 staying back because they were tired, and 400 came to David to pursue the Amalekites. Amalekites was a tribal nation descended from Esau. So what's it called? So the 400 came with David to pursue the Amalekites. Verse 11, then they found an Egyptian in the field and brought him to David, and they gave him bread and he ate, and they let him drink water, and they gave him a piece of cake of figs and 2 clusters of raisins. So when he had eaten, his strength came back to him, for he had eaten no bread nor drunk water for 3 days and 3 nights. So, man, I mean, David didn't eat nothing for 3 days, 3 nights. So he felt strengthened. He felt his body, renew. He had energy because of the cake and the 2 clusters of raisins. Which almost like grapes. So he felt energized. David did. Verse 13. Then David said to him, "To whom do you belong, and where are you from?" And he said, "I'm a young man from Egypt, servant of an Amalekite. And my master left me behind because 3 days ago I fell sick. We made an invasion of the southern area of the Chertatites, in the territory which belonged to Judah, and of the southern area of Caleb. And we burned Zilach with fire." So this guy that was from Egypt, he was part of the Amalekites tribal invasion. He was part of the Amalekites. He's like, "Hey, we just burned Zilach to the ground." So he confessed it to the invasion that just happened. He said to David, this Egyptian guy. In 14, we see that in verse 14. He confessed to David. And David said to him, "Can you take me down to this troop?" So he said, "Swear to me by God that you will neither kill me nor deliver me into the hands of my master, and I will take you down to this troop." So this Egyptian guy is like, he's like, he told to David, "Hey, I'll take you to the Amalekites camp, but don't deliver me to them. Don't deliver me to the master, to them, So verse 16, and when he had brought him down, there they were, spread out over all the land, eating and drinking, dancing, because all the great spoil which they had taken from the land of the Philistines and from the land of Judah. So we see Amalekites not only invaded the land of Judah, which is the lower part of Israel, not only the invaded Judah, but also the land of Philistines. So they're taking their things, they're taking the spoil with them, and they use it. Verse 17, then David attacked them from twilight until evening of the next day. Not a man of them escaped except 400 young men who rode on the camels and fled. We see only 400 people escaped the Amalekite camp. Only 400 of them. So, verse 18, so David recovered all that Amalekites had carried away, and David rescued his 2 wives, which we know the 2 wives was Ahinoam and Abigail. So, next verse. And nothing of theirs was lacking, either small or great, sons or daughters, spoil or anything which they had taken from them. David recovered all. Then David took all the flocks and herds they had driven before, those over those other livestock. Then David took all the flocks and herds they had driven before those other livestock, and said, "This is David's spoiled." Now David came to the 200 men who had been so weary that they could not follow David, whom they also had made to stay at the brook Besur. So they went out to meet David and to meet the people who were with him. And when David came near the people, he greeted them. So David came back to the 200 people that stayed back, stayed back in the Zilach because they were so tired. So he came back to them, Then all the wicked and worthless men of those who went with David answered and said, "Because they did not go with us, we will not give them any of the spoil that we have recovered, except for every man's wife and children, that they may lead them away and depart." But David said, "My brethren, you shall not do so with what the Lord has given us, who has preserved us and delivered into our hand the troop that came against us." And who is the troop that came against David and his people? Was the Amalekites. God delivered Amalekites, and God delivered Amalekites to David and his army. So David and his army prevailed. David and his army took over the Amalekites and the camp. So 24. For who will heed you in this matter? For who will heed you in this matter? But as his part is who goes down to the battle, so shall his part be who stays by the supplies. They shall share alike. Verse 25. So it was from that day forward he made it a statute and an ordinance for Israel to this day. Now when David came to Ziklag, he sent some of the spoil to the elders of Judah, to his friends, saying, "Here is the present for you from the spoil of the enemies of the Lord." So basically, so he shared the things that he recovered from the Amalekites camp. He shared some of that to the people in Judah. So not just in to his own people, but he shared with other people in Judah. That we see in this verse. Verse 27. To those who were in Bethel, those who were in Ramoth of the south, those who were in Jatir. So he's giving an example right here. Here's the present for you from the spoil of the enemies of the Lord. To those who were in Bethel, to those who were in Ramoth of the south, and those who were in Jatir, those who city in the land of Judah. Those who were in Aror, those who were in Siphamoth, those who were in Eshtemoth. Well, we know that, what's it called? As we read earlier, the Egyptian, he's confessing that Amalekites took over the Philistines' land and the Judah land and taken their spoil. So David's recovered all that and distributed back to the Judah, to the land of Judah, for the things the Amalekites were, stole, captured, and so forth. Verse 29, those who were in Raquel, those who were in the cities of those of the Jeramathites, those who were in the cities of the Kenites, those who were in Hormah, those who were in Karashan, those who were in Ataka, those who were in Hebron, and to all the places where David himself and his men were accustomed to rove. So we see that in the last verses, that's given all the city location in Judah to distribute all the spoil, all the things that Amalekites stole from the land of Judah. So David is just distributing all the spoiled things, not spoiled things, all their stuff that the Amalekites stole. So let's look in Psalms 25, and to see how when David was discouraged, and it's just an example of this is when David was discouraged, he sang this to the Lord. So let's follow. To you, O Lord, I lift up my soul. O my God, I trust in you. Let me not be ashamed. Let not my enemies triumph over me. And let no one who waits on you be ashamed. Let those be ashamed who deal treacherously without cause. Show me your ways, O Lord. Teach me your path. Teach me your path and lead me in your truth. And teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. And on you I'll wait all day. That's pretty cool. I mean, what a song, actually poetry to God, where David writes a poetry, to God. But let's look at, let's look at this New King James. Let's look at Septuagint version. Septuagint, it's a Greek Old Testament. This is the Old Testament that early disciples used to write the New Testament. So Septuagint, it's a Greek Old Testament. So let's look at the verse. To thee, O Lord, have I lifted up my soul. O my God, I have trusted in thee. Let me not be confounded, neither let my enemy laugh me to scorn. For none of them that wait on thee shall in any wise be ashamed. Let them be ashamed that transgress without cause. So, David's writing that to God in the poetry. Show me thy ways, O Lord, and teach me thy path. Lead me in thy truth and teach me, for thou art God, my Savior, and I have waited on thee all day. So we see the difference in of the versions. We see that difference of translation. So Septuagint, it's an Old Testament Greek. So this is the map again, and we see the Ziklag that was attacked by Amalekites. And they invaded the Judah and the city Ziklag. So Amalekites, they invaded the city Ziklag. And this is Judah that we learn in the story, that we talk, through the teaching. That was Judah, and at the top is Israel. So, anyway, I hope this helps you out, and I hope this encourages you. We need your donation to help us out, to help our ministry, and to continue this broadcast. If you like this broadcast, if you like this teaching, and support, if you like this teaching, please help us out with support and donation to continue this broadcast, to share the message of Jesus Christ, and to be able to continue this teaching. So thank you so much, and be blessed, and thank you for watching this, and have a nice day. Thank you.